spring ball getting started next Tuesday. And then pro day is March 10th and spring game is April 9th. So we'll turn it over to Coach.
Welcome. Thank you all for joining us, especially with all the weather and everything else going on outside. Obviously, a little cold here the last couple of days with all the ice and snow. So kind of working our way through that part of it. Looks like we're going to have a good week next week with weather, so hopefully it'll stay that way. You never know. You're in Oklahoma, so it can change every hour if it happens that way. So excited about spring ball starting. Obviously, we've got some holes to fill, but we've got the nucleus of guys coming back that I think we can really build around. I'm excited about getting back on the field with them. I think it has been a really good winter off season for us. I thought those guys have really trained well, put on weight, gotten faster, stronger, bigger, all of those things. But as you step back out on the field with them, that's when you're going to really see the growth and that part start happening. So I know our coaches are excited about it. Our players are excited about it this time of year, getting the opportunity to go out and compete and kind of figure out what your team's going to be about. As a player, you get an opportunity to kind of improve yourself from a skill standpoint, from a positioning standpoint. You get an opportunity to start looking at guys in different spots, moving pieces around and trying to figure out what is the best spot for him and for us as we continue to move forward. So, you know, it's about finding the best 11 guys to step on the field at one time that can play in unison together. This is the ultimate team sport. And so these guys have really, I thought, come together and gelled in a really good way. Now we got to kind of put all the pieces together, and this is, you know, kind of that first step as you get into spring ball of kind of figuring out those pieces and where they play best. So excited about that, excited about some of our new coaches stepping on the field and getting an opportunity to kind of be a part of what we've got going on, see guys kind of address that side of it, see how they kind of interact and kind of start moving with it. And so it's an exciting time, especially with Pro Day coming up. We've got a lot of guys competing in that part of it. And then, you know, with spring ball right here on our front doorstep, a chance to really go out and work. So that being said, I'll take questions.
Coach, after my first year covering you guys, you know, the big storyline going into last year, you know, Zabin was leaving, new quarterback. To you kind of touched on it there, but what's the biggest, I guess, storyline, position battle, thing of concern, just kind of generally speaking, you know, like I said, storyline for you going into the first day of spring ball?
Yeah, I think the biggest storylines coming in are probably going to be, you know, the offensive and defensive lines. You know, it always starts with us up front. We've got some new faces that are going to be in there, some guys that have got to really step up and do a job. And so I think that offensive defensive line is going to be really crucial for us, not just right now, but as we kind of go throughout the rest of the spring and get into the summer and the start of fall camp.
Coach, I know it's a brand new season, but how much does the momentum at the end of last season translate into spring ball?
Yeah, I mean, to be real honest, it feels like we just stepped off the field just a couple of weeks ago. I mean, you kind of turn around, and then all of a sudden you had recruiting, and then recruiting finished up from the standpoint of signing day. Recruiting never stops, but you have signing day. You get guys back off the road and get an opportunity to start really breaking down and looking at some of the things you did last year, things and areas that we got to improve upon. And then you look up and spring ball is right here hitting you kind of in the face. And so I think our guys will have a lot of carryover, a lot of new faces, but a lot of carryover as far as retention goes and just kind of getting out there, knocking the rust off, and then kind of figuring out how we all fit together as we get onto the field.
Does it still sneak up on you?
One more time.
Sorry, guys. Coach, does it still sneak up on you? Spring ball it seems to come so quickly.
You know, I think every year it comes a little faster. It seems that way. Maybe that's because I'm getting older. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, it was you look up and we start our breakdown and start doing some things, and then as you really start paying attention to the calendar, you're like, oh, I'm a week and a half away. I'm a week away. I'm a couple of days away. And now, obviously, looking at it, we start on Tuesday. So it's one of those things that can kind of creep up on you a little bit.
Coach, which of the skill positions has been the most turbulent this offseason?
Turbulent. I don't know if there's been a turbulent standpoint. I think we've got some transitions of things going on. Obviously, if you look at the receiver spot with Keelan and JC kind of coming back, those are the guys with the most experience, guys that we can really build around, guys that know and have been on the game field and got a lot of reps and been in a lot of different situations. So, those two guys from an experience standpoint will be the guys kind of leading it. But we feel like we've got good pieces to kind of fit in and around that part of it. You look at the secondary part of it, TD is coming back, a guy that's got a ton of experience from not just last year, but got some the year before. He'll be the guy from a corner standpoint that's kind of stepping up. But Tyree and Reggie and those guys have all had opportunities to play in games and done a nice job for us. Now it's an opportunity for them to step up and kind of take hold of what that other corner is going to kind of look like. When you start looking at the safeties, getting Kendarian back, K-Ray back, off of injury for the majority of the season last year, not having C-Will back there is going to be a little bit different. But that being said, Bryson has played a ton, has started a lot of games for us in that, especially that year that C-Will was out with his injury. And so that guy's got a lot of experience, understands our defense and knows what he's doing. D-Jack has played a bunch for us as well. You look at, LJ and Jace and those guys that played quite a bit in different stints because of injuries or whatever that might have been, opportunities to step in and start and play a lot of reps. So as you look at those things, you got a lot of good pieces coming back. Now it's giving them the opportunity to step up and take hold of that spot and be the starter.
Coach, how do you replace a guy like Jackson Player who's decided to go off to Baylor? Obviously, that's a key part of your defense, not having that leadership. Who's going to take the mold of replacing Jackson Player?
Well, I think we got some good guys on the defensive line that are coming back, and that starts with Anthony Goodlow. A guy that just his production last year was just really, really at an all-time level. He's a guy that is dynamic no matter where you put him. A guy that continues to get better. He will be the anchor point of our defensive line to start with. He's the guy that has got the most experience, the most production, has been in the most battles. But then you got Everett Rogers coming back, who was injured quite a bit throughout last season, but coming off of injury, will still miss a little bit of spring ball, just coming off of his surgery. But I think Everett is going to be a guy that has had great production in the past, will continue to improve and get that production. But you've got pieces in there to build. Joe Anderson is back, who did a nice job for us. Hayden Grant is back, who did a nice job for us, and the list goes on. And so I'm excited to see what our defensive line is going to be able to do. Obviously, some guys have graduated and moved on and other things. And so it's an opportunity for us to continue to build and grow in that spot.
Coach, you're bringing a Coweta guy home and Steve Farmer. Can you talk about that decision and what he brings to the O-line?
Yeah, excited about Steve. Steve's done a nice job since he's been here as far as just picking up what we do, bringing in new ideas, bringing in thoughts and suggestions. Excited for him to step on the field with our offensive line. He's a guy, as you look back over his career, has done an outstanding job, whether he's just been the offensive line coach, he's done some coordinating in the past. You look at what his production has been in the teams that he's coached, and he's done a nice job there. And so I don't see this as a replacement type deal. It's an idea for us to be able to continue to bring in new ideas, a guy with great experience and great wealth as far as teaching and growing young men. But I think our offensive line has been one of those things that we've hung our hat on, and I don't think that will change with him. I think we'll continue to do that. And he's already done a nice job of just kind of coming in and creating relationships with guys, getting in and having meeting times with them. And so I feel really good about that hire and the direction that we're going with him.
A lot of first or second year guys in new positions on this team. You were just talking about the benefits. Are there some challenges with the benefits of having new guys in those new roles?
Well, we've been a pretty experienced team over the last two years, especially last year with all the seniors that we have. And so you've had some young guys that have gotten opportunities to step in and play at times, but now have been kind of waiting in the wings and waiting for their opportunity, continuing to grow and work. Those guys are excited about it. We're excited about it. And so it's going to be a challenge from that standpoint. We are going to be a much younger team this year than what we've been in the past. That being said, I think these guys are ready to step up and get the job done.
Coach, there's a lot of new coach positions that you kind of filled this offseason. Does that change the dynamic of spring ball? I mean, are you going to have to kind of adjust to some of the coaches and kind of have them kind of grow into their own in the new positions, or does it change anything in the way that you approach spring ball compared to previous seasons?
No, I don't think really from a coaching standpoint it changes what we do in spring ball. Now, we're going to be, like we said, not as experienced as we've been. So, as far as our installs and things like that, we want to make sure that we're getting our foundational things in to a level that we can really progress forward. So we may slow down our installation a little bit just to make sure that we are solid in those areas. But I don't think that will be because the coaches. I think that will be making sure that we are solid with our bread and butter foundational type pieces offensively and defensively and special teams. I think the guys that we've been able to bring in are guys that are going to be good coaches, good mentors, good teachers. They're already picking up what we do from a schematic standpoint. We've got good coaches that have been here for a while that will continue to keep in that mode. So I'm excited about watching this group of coaches as we kind of come together just like the team does. I mean, there's that as you get into the flow, just understanding each other, being in meeting rooms, suggestions, new ideas, new thoughts, being able to mesh all of those things together and put out there what we need to make sure that our guys are in a position to go make plays.
Coach, you mentioned having some younger guys. One of those younger guys and a local guy that I think we all want to know a little bit more about is Owen Ostrowski. What are you looking forward to seeing from him, and how have you seen him, improve, and how his progress has gone over the last?
Yeah, Owen, he got a little bit of playing time last year. I think Owen has done a really, really nice job. He's phenomenal in the weight room. He does a tremendous job in the training side of it. I see what he's going to be able to do and bring this spring is going to be really important for his progress. He's a guy that we can plug in a lot of different spots, use his leverage, use his strength, use his quickness as he comes off the football. I think this spring will be very important for him as we lead into next fall, as he starts getting more reps, more things put on his plate, watching him grow and flourish. We're excited about what Owen brings to the table and what he's going to continue to bring as we work our way through this.
Any other questions for Coach Montgomery?
Coach, it might have already been asked, but just talk about the guys that have now signed contracts with USFL teams. I know Zach and Manny Bunch, and then you got a handful of guys competing in the combine. I mean, the trajectory of your program looks like it's heading in the right direction, getting guys to the next level. I mean, is that the same concept that you're seeing, and give me your background on that?
Yeah, I'm so excited for those guys. Like you said, Zach and Manny, I know both got drafted. I know there's some other guys that are still kind of in talks when you're looking at this new USFL league. I think it's going to be an exciting league. I'm anxious to see it come into play, but really, really happy for the guys that are getting an opportunity to do that. You look at what our program has been able to do, and we've had guys drafted, each of the last several years. I see that same scenario again happening this year. We got several guys that kind of fall into that. We got 3 guys that'll be at the National Combine doing their best there. We've got our Pro Day coming up. And so it's an exciting time for these young men. It's an exciting time for our program. We're just happy to see them get an opportunity. We know we've got guys that are talented enough to play at that level, and seeing them being able to achieve their dreams, come here and really do it in a spectacular type way. But for us, we get to sit back and kind of watch these guys kind of go through this process and kind of cheer them on and do what we can do to help them kind of prepare themselves for this. But it's an exciting time of year for sure.
For more information, you can visit tulsaworld.com.